So looking at now, back to our topic. I think for me, our topic is looking at authentic leadership and looking at this trying to solve Africa's ethical problem as probably the panacea to our development crisis. And you are proposing something that's already been done and it's worked and it's successful. And when you mentioned that, it reminded me of the Boers in South Africa. If you've heard the story of one of the most successful banks, their Standard Bank, they started as families just saving money, and now you worked with them, So I've been told that they just started as basic savers, just community saving money, having a place where people could come and borrow, from each other. And now this bank is all over the world. It's in China. It's one of the biggest banks aside. So that is looking at communities developing themselves. But now let's look at the ethical issue and look at a country that was at the same economic level as Uganda and Togo in 1963, Singapore. I think it's one of those success stories when it comes to issues of ethical leadership, when it comes to issues of transformational change management, that kind of thing. And when it also comes to a people having a common resolve. In a place that has systemic corruption, we've also seen the Arab world be transformed when, Dubai, it's like supposedly a piece of rock, but right now it's one of the richest economies because of the intentionality of the leadership, their willingness to sacrifice, because these are the princes and the Emiratis, to sacrifice their comfort for the ordinary people and develop services. So again, going back to this myth of the wicked prosper, we continually see African economies. One group of leadership takes over and takes for themselves and eats. Then someone else take over and eat as well. And then you keep wondering, when are we getting those altruistic people that are actually going to say the people first? And how do you see us moving from where we are right now, Latin? Is there a hope?
To me, I would say it's not difficult if leaders, and we are as the people,
we're the leaders.
We love our country and the people and the nature, right? It starts from the hearts. Because it's like you have kids, right? I'm a dad. And I'm sure you love your kids, you wish well for them, you want them to be successful. And if you take it to another level, right? You are a business owner, you love your employees, you want the best for them, you want your company to grow so you can all benefit. And you get it to the national level. So to me, it's really, we have to come back to just simple concepts.
Yes.
Love.
Love.
Do you really love your country? Do you love your people?
So break it down.
I mean, to me, again, it's love, right? If I love something, I won't want to hurt that thing or that person, right? So it comes from the hearts. Maybe let's appeal to that.
What if politicians say the price is too high?
The price is not high. The price is not high. I don't think so. Loving your nation, your people, and just wanting the best for your country. I think people see that in leadership and people will follow you.
Somebody said love is a verb. Because I can sit here and say I love Uganda.
No, love is an action.
Yeah.
So it's a verb, but then you have to show it.
You have to show it.
So that's where the ethics come in, right?
Yeah.
Because if you love your people, you don't want to steal from your people.
Yeah.
Right? You want the resource to be shared. Right? You want to be accountable. Right? I say, I will do this, I will try to do it. If I don't do it, I will come back and say, look, I try, I fail.
So leaders who apologize.
Of course.
And learn from mistakes.
You have to be vulnerable.
So
Because
vulnerable leadership. Now we
yes,
get into the authentic bit.
authentic,
But
vulnerable, ethical, all those things.
yes, but then that shows, I'm sorry, now I'm speaking as the people. This will show your weakness. This will make you vulnerable. Then how about the people that are benefiting from, the selfishness?
Yeah, that's why we need to turn those people who are benefiting to also love, right? No, seriously. Because nobody will come build Africa for us if it is not African.
Thank you.
No, nobody will come do
Nobody's
it.
going to do
The
that
Chinese,
for us.
the East will come, they have their business interests.
Yeah.
They have their political interests, right?
Yeah.
It's geopolitics. The people from Europe will come, same. From the US, everybody has interest. Even Barack Obama said that.
Yeah.
We are all in this for our interest.
Yeah.
And rightly so, because if you are president of the United States, you want to protect American first.
So
right?
that for me brings me to the point of where some of our governments have left the most basic resources, the very important resources like health, like we were talking about food security, agriculture. You find that they're the smallest in the budget because there's an expectation that there'll be aid in that area. Education, you're leaving education to someone else who might have another agenda. And somehow you expect your education system, which is probably given to you as charity, to develop you, So in your experience, one of the things I've noticed about Africa is that, and you started out by saying you were doing research, is that some of the policies and programs do not emanate from Africa. They're sort of imposed. Like now we're talking about ethics. Ethics now is a serious legal requirement, ESG.
Yes,
and
I was going to tell you.
yes,
ESG,
and ESG, and yes, we'll talk about it. Sustainability. We want to look at governance. Want to look at the ethics. But the question is, for how long will we wait for people to be our conscience from the outside? How long will we wait for people from the outside to remind us that we need to respect the human rights of our people? And then lastly, if we were to do a do-over, do you think tanks would have a role to play here? Like in change management, because we have to have a mindset change.
It takes everything to build a nation, right? No, it takes everything. So I think you have to have an inclusive approach. Yeah. The inclusivity is really key. Bring people in instead of leaving them out, right? Inclusivity. Yeah, and it starts with education as well. Like government, we need to invest in our education. We need to build people up, right? Yeah. And start from, like, I can just give you an example. We school, right, where we are promoting healthy eating and interesting young people to go to agriculture, to go to agribusiness, because we need that. And those kids were like, what, 7, 8-year-olds? Yeah. They form a committee, and they call themselves Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Finance.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, 7-year-old kids.
So where is this? Where is this happening?
It's in one. I can get you the reference, but it's one of the school here.
Yeah, in Uganda.
In Uganda, in Kampala here.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
That sounds
fantastic. So I think we have to start looking at.
So you have little government.
Yes,
and they're
young
learning
age and civic education, right? Yeah. The love of the country, the love of the, that's, to me, we have to instill that into our people. So they grow up knowing that I'm African and I'm proud. Because our education system, right, prepare people to go overseas.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a brain drain, right? So I think we have to turn that
and now,
upside down.
Well, I think that happened for a lot of West Africa. Now, for countries like Uganda, it's really starting now because everybody wants to go to an international school because they're aiming to head abroad.
That's too bad.
Very bad.
That's too bad.
Yes.
I think we need to change that paradigm and ready
I like the little governments.
Yes. And
maybe you'll introduce us and we'll do a study of them. On the other thing, how, if you were, because one of the things I've noticed is that without think tanks, we're not able to develop our own thought leadership around the economic development of Africa. I mean, the African Union does not seem, I'm sorry to say this, but it doesn't seem to be willing to do anything unless it's aided, unless it's funded.
I think African governments should be contributing, right?
Exactly. They should be putting their money.
They should be putting you put your money where your mouth is, right?
Thank you.
They should be contributing.
Like the CFTA, they're waiting for external money for anything.
Yeah, that's not being responsible. Seriously. Because if you expect someone to come give you money, money is power. Yeah. Money is influence. Yeah. So that comes with agenda, right? Right. But if it is your own money, you have your own agenda.
Exactly.
So we need African universities, African intellectual, African whoever.
You know, my tribe, where I come from.
Yeah.
We have somebody in NASA. You know, but I know that there's another tribe here that David Livingstone discovered in the Kingdom of Uganda. They started the C-section before it started in Europe. They had their own model. When you look at Egypt, you know, it's the cradle of civilization. So at what point do we say, I liked what you said, African universities. And we have, I think, about 2 now that are just teaching African studies, studying African culture, heritage, and looking at how can we deal this. I'm proud of Uganda because during the COVID pandemic, we had people even who came up with cures. You had what happened in Mauritius. Yeah. I think I hate to say this, but I think the pandemic sort of woke us up and made us innovative as a continent.
Yes. But I'm worried that we may not keep it consistent and sustainable, right? Because people tend to forget very quickly.
We are reactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you can keep that momentum created by COVID, because I visited a farm today in Itembe, right? They also started the farm because of COVID.
Yeah,
right?
No, I have a vegetable garden behind my kitchen because of COVID. Everybody in Uganda was boiling herbs and smoking them.
Exactly. But there's so much power in those herbs. Absolutely. We don't need some of those chemicals that we put in our body. Yeah. So I think we have to change our mindset as well to appreciate African stuff, African culture.
So what's an African like you doing with all your resources, all your knowledge?
What am I doing?
Yes.
I'm talking to you.
I think when I first met you, you mentioned something about a group of your friends trying to do something back in Africa.
Yeah. We do a lot. I'm involved in so many things. So I'm working with a group. Actually, the founder
is... Give an example to the people out there.
The founder is Ugandan, actually, but he lives in the US. He set up this African Ballet. Is really a way to also raise the conscience of the diaspora in the US. Right?
About the needs of Africa.
About the need of the Africa and about the opportunities, not just the needs. The opportunity, the money is here.
So that our diasporans can come back
and also fight corruption.
Yes.
Because corruption is a disease that is really eating up African. If we can manage that and bring the ethical leadership, the love for our people, for our continent, I think, and promote our own stuff, be this kind of togetherness, right? Yes. And be truthful to each other. I think that has potential.
What are some of the difficulties that diasporans would experience, for instance, in coming back home and being part of the cure?
I think people are coming back more and more. And I think we need government to create this kind of enabling environment, right? Enabling policy.
Targeting.
To say, because some countries are doing that, like Ghana, for instance.
Oh, yeah, they have that thing of coming back.
Yeah, coming back. And even it's not just
the former slave.
Ghanaian, the former slave, African American, going back to Ghana.
And getting identity.
Yes.
But tell me about the economic benefit of that. I'm sorry to be a bit...
It's massive. The economic benefit is massive because those people are coming back with intellectual capital, right? With cash.
Yes.
People sell their house in the US. You sell your house $500,000. You come to Africa, you can do a lot of things with it, right? So people are coming with their network, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just you, but you are plugged into different networks. People are coming with that. People are coming with market opportunities, right? So there's a lot of benefits. Only if this thing can be well organized and we leave the ego out of it. To me, I'm African. Sometimes we are so egocentric. So we leave the ego out of it, and it can bring that love, solidarity. Let's do it together, right? So I think it's possible, and it's happening. We can learn
You're
from.
filling me with hope.
No, I have big hope.
As the Leadership Institute, the Fidelis Leadership Institute, we, first of all, this is very encouraging because you're giving real solutions and you're giving examples of things that are really working on the continent. As an economist, what do you think we need to sort of jumpstart? I'll give you an example. Uganda exports roses to Norway, and Ghana buys roses from Norway.
That's not right.
Right now, Brazil's sugar to West Africa is cheaper than Uganda's sugar going to West Africa. So these are some of the challenges that we have. And yes, of course, there are probably infrastructure. But I think that if our leaders in the African Union were to spend more time on putting something in the kitty, on seeing how to connect with each other, because sometimes instead we see them putting up barriers.
Yeah, they put barriers.
Regionalization.
It's
not, COMESA is breaking up. There's so many things.
Yeah. No, I think the potential is, again, massive from my perspective. But we need those leaders and the people themselves. We need to stay true to that, right? Even crossing border, right? Like between Togo to go to Ghana is a hassle for people, right?
And yes, you're in
ECOWAS. You know, but
you need a visa?
Luckily not, but you have racketing from the police, and so if only we can get rid of those barriers, right?
Non-tariff barriers.
Exactly.
Like
and to me, global trade is here. I'm not against global trade, but do it in a way that is meaningful and a win-win, right? And also do it in a way that is more and more we want to be concerned about the environment, right? That's not polluting. So if you have more shorter supply chain, right? Instead of flying something from Kampala to Norway and then Norway to Ghana, that's too much emission,
Not just imagine,
and then the price.
Too much emission, there's too much, and
the price.
The sad thing is that the value add everything is lost.
Yeah.
It's off the continent.
Yeah.
So the other thing I want to say is that when you look at, for instance, the COVID pandemic, which forced us to, it created a solution. There are some good things that came out of it, if I may say something about East Africa. East African trucks used to move around, but there were higher charges, for instance, on the Tanzanian side. That got reduced, maybe because of interventions. But then we had non-tariff barriers coming up about Ugandan milk to Kenya. We had farmers pouring liters and liters of milk. And this was an opportunity to have the East African countries, for instance, get together, take advantage of this growing market that's now from 300 million people to almost 1 billion people, and see how can we keep our people fed. But instead, our East African countries were putting up barriers of all kinds. And that politics went on for so long that when the business people wanted now to go to court, the statutes of limitations were, And so you look at the justice system and it doesn't seem to be targeted. And that's why I think we need homegrown solutions. We need courts and statutes of limitations that do not actually create barriers to justice. We need trade policies that are delivered as a region as opposed to as country.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally. I mean, that's the way to go because
yes,
when you think about China, right?
Yes.
China is a big country, is a big market.
Yes.
Even so, just the domestic market alone is huge,
enough.
right? So
Even
someone doing
Nigeria.
Business, Nigeria, India,
300 million people.
So if you can, I think
million.
as Africa, we really have to. If is Africa-wide is so difficult, let's do this kind of regionalization, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's a big market. So, as an entrepreneur, you know that your market is not just Uganda. Your market is Kenya. Your market is Tanzania. Your market, and it creates jobs.
And what do you have to say about Kenya or Tanzania or Togo imposing Western standards, for instance, for product on our local market? You know very well that a Togolese will eat my bananas and be okay with that.
I love the matoke.
Exactly. But suddenly, the Togolese says no.
No, we should adapt.
The Western standard is this. So
No.
So now what's happening is that now everything is being scrutinized by microscopes, put under so much, that by the end of the day, the so-called product safe? Is it integrity of the product okay? Is it African? I think we need to also reevaluate our standards. I'll give you a ridiculous example. I worked in the National Water and Sewage Corporation, and our sewage regulations as a country were higher than the sewage regulations of the sewage standards of the World Health Organization. Would you believe that? And yet they were too high for us to achieve, but we had legislators who had come up with things that were impossible to achieve. So sometimes I think we do need think tanks. I think I like how you said
think tank grounded on the reality here. I think there's so much, like even this
grounded on data.
Yeah, grounded on evidence, things happening already here.
Yeah.
Because
maybe the powers of sharing the stories.
Yes.
Because I feel like we're isolated.
Yeah.
Good things are happening all over Africa, innovation, technology, all these things, but they are in silos.
That's why Smart TV is here for, right?
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
No, seriously, we need to connect the dots and do these things in languages that are also accessible to people. You can do it in Luanga or Swahili or in Ewe from West Africa. It's French and whatever. So you can. Yeah, I think we really have to ground ourselves to our reality and
the
promote our
thing,
culture.
I find Anglophone and Francophone Africans, having all these fights about their legislation and saying that's what's keeping them apart. And yet the European Union
they're coming together.
Everybody together. And they have one currency.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for one African currency. I'm excited about this.
We have to move there, and we also have to move with the people.
Yes. If you had 5 things, you growing up with your experience, if you had 5 things you'd tell today's young leader, young man, in order for him to be a part of the change that he wants to see, where would you start?
5 things.
5 things. You can make them 2. You can.
I think just speaking from my personal experience, right? Yeah. I value education, learning, continuous learning, right? And I love your facts, right? They're teachable. So. Just being willing to be teachable, to learn and it can be formal and informal learning. You can read on the internet, so be open, have an open mind, right? And don't be afraid to make mistake.
Yes.
Because we'll learn from mistake, right? And I would say
mistakes are part of the process.
Yes, totally. Learn from it. Yeah. I'm a faithful person. That's why I love you. Being faithful
so
as
faithful,
well.
Teachable,
being faithful.
You're just already.
Being faithful is key, and use your faith and be a role model. I mean, walk the talk. You can say something and do something else.
So
keep yourself accountable.
That's been Dr. Latte Lawson Latego. He's been fantastic. Thank you all the way from Washington. This is Fiona Wolf from the Fidelis Leadership Institute. Thank you to Smart 24, and have a fantastic Women's Month.